Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual and Firstpost. We begin with the latest from the Israel-Hamas war. The US State Department has seemingly shifted its stance on the Israel-Hamas war. In a rare punitive move against Israel, the State Department has said it will impose travel bans on extremist Jewish settlers in the occupied West Bank. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said this will involve individuals who undermine peace, security or stability in the region. The first bans under the new policy were imposed on Tuesday. The World Health Organization, or the WHO, has resounded alarms over the situation in Gaza. A WHO official has said that the situation in the region was deteriorating by the hour. He added that the agency had complied with an Israeli order to remove supplies from warehouses in Khan Younis. That is because the WHO had been told the area would most likely become an active combat region in the coming days. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he had heard stories of sexual abuse by hostages returned by Hamas. This was during a meeting with the hostages who were held captive by Hamas. He said that the stories, quote-unquote, broke my heart. Netanyahu has called on the women's and human rights organizations to act on it. A rocket from Gaza struck a residential building in the Israeli city of Ashkelon. Israel's ambulance service said 2 women over the age of 60 were lightly wounded in the attack. Both of them were shifted to a hospital. Hamas continues to fire a barrage of rockets into Israel. Meanwhile, Israeli forces launched an assault in southern Gaza Strip on Tuesday. At least 43 people killed in Israeli strikes in Gaza's Khan Younis city since Tuesday. Gaza's health ministry has said that dozens more are still trapped under the rubble or are lying in the streets. Dozens of wounded Gazans were rushed to the Nasser hospital overnight. The ministry has added that the healthcare system is on its brink as hospitals in the region are collapsing. Israeli forces raided the West Bank city of Jenin on Tuesday. While the raid was underway, Israeli soldiers stopped and searched ambulances going through the city. Some paramedics say they'd been stuck around for 15 minutes. The Palestinian Red Crescent said 5 people were injured during the raid. The West Bank has seen surging violence in parallel to the Israel-Hamas war. On to other top stories now. US President Joe Biden has said he may have skipped a re-election bid for the upcoming presidential race, that is, if he was not facing Donald Trump. Biden said, and I quote, "If Trump wasn't running, I'm not sure I'd be running." He added that the former president posed a unique threat to the country. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris has set a record for breaking the most ties in the US Senate by a vice president. This is after she cast a vote to confirm Lauren Ali Khan as the first South Asian woman judge on the Federal District Court in Washington, D.C. As Vice President, Harris is the Senate's president and breaks ties when they arise, which occurs quite often because of the slim 51-49 majority the Democrats hold in the chamber. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has said that he would authorize oil exploration in an area around the Essequibo River. This comes as the territory remains a subject of dispute with neighboring Guyana. Venezuela held a referendum over the weekend. In it, voters rejected the International Court of Justice's jurisdiction over the disputed land. Maduro has repeatedly said the referendum is binding. However, last week the ICJ barred Venezuela from taking any action that changes the status quo in the oil-rich region. At least 11 people have died and 25 were injured after a bus fell into a river in the Central American country of Honduras. The bus skidded on a highway about 41 kilometers from the capital city. The seriously injured were transported by ambulance and helicopter to a hospital in the capital. 6 Ukrainian children will be returned to Ukraine from Russia. This is under a deal brokered by Qatar. The children are en route to Ukraine via Moscow. This is the second phase of a Qatar-mediated return of children after 4 minors were returned in October. Children returning to Ukraine had been staying with relatives in Russia or Russian-occupied territory. Former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will appear before a UK COVID inquiry panel today. The panel is looking into the government's handling of the coronavirus pandemic. The inquiry has already heard damaging testimony about Johnson's handling of the crisis. This includes his reluctance to impose a timely lockdown. Johnson will face 2 days of questioning. The Nigerian president has ordered a thorough investigation after a military drone killed at least 85 people and injured 66. The drone hit residents of a community who were participating in an annual celebration. An army spokesman said the troops were carrying out aerial patrols, misinterpreted their activities with that of bandits. The country's army chief apologized for the airstrike and promised to pay medical expenses of those injured. In climate news, US, Canada, Kenya and 60 other countries joined the Global Cooling Pledge at the UN Climate Summit in Dubai. The pledge aims to significantly reduce emissions related to cooling activities from refrigeration and air conditioning. It is expected to bring down the emission level to 68% by 2050. The initiative also includes targets for establishing minimum energy performance standards by 2030. Activists staged protests at the COP28 UN summit in Dubai, urging to end the use of fossil fuels. While previous UN climate talks saw larger protest rallies, this year's demonstrations have been subdued in the UAE, where freedom of expression is restricted. According to a report by an internal coalition of the climate activist groups, over 2,400 fossil fuel lobbyists registered for this year's UN Climate Summit. The World Meteorological Organization reported that the past decade was the warmest. This trend is expected to continue in the current decade. The warming climate is likely to lead to an increase in extreme weather incidents. It can also trigger events like landslides and flooding. Scientists warn that humanity is approaching several critical tipping points due to an increase in carbon pollution and rising global temperatures. The Global Tipping Points report identifies 5 natural thresholds at the risk of being crossed. The threats include collapse of large ice sheets, widespread thawing of permafrost, coral reef death, and disruption to atmospheric circulation in the North Atlantic. These tipping points could lead to irreversible and extensive damage to both people and nature. According to a new report, the UK government is likely to fall significantly off its Paris Climate Agreement targets. The analysis conducted by Friends of Earth indicates that current policies would achieve just over half of the necessary emissions cut in 2030. This gap could place the UK in breach of its commitment, impacting global efforts to limit temperature. Norway's parliament has agreed to permit seabed mining in the Arctic region. Norway's minority government, along with 2 opposition parties, has reached an agreement to permit seabed mineral exploration in the Arctic region. This will be a crucial move towards potential full-scale ocean mining. This deal, if approved, could position Norway as the first country to engage in commercial deep-sea mining. The move raises concerns about environmental impact of deep-sea mining. Air New Zealand plans to become the first airline to fly an electric plane. The airline announced that battery-powered Alia aircraft is expected to join its fleet in 2026. The aircraft has covered a distance of 480 kilometers in a single test flight. The airline aims to initially operate it as a cargo-only service on domestic routes. This move is a part of the airline's commitment to lower emissions in its regional operations. On to business and tech news. Moodys has cut its outlook on the Chinese government's credit ratings. The ratings agency downgraded it from stable to negative. It reflects global worries about China's economy. Moodys said it sees growing evidence that Chinese authorities will need to give more financial support to debt-laden local governments and state firms. That in turn is likely to risk China's fiscal, economic and institutional threat. The rating agency also cited an ongoing crisis in the country's property sector. Trucking company XPO has won a bid to buy 28 service centers of bankrupt YellowCop. The deal will be valued at more than $800 million. In August, Yellow, formerly known as YRC, filed for bankruptcy. Yellow was one of the nation's largest so-called less-than-truckload carriers in the US. It owned about 2,000 trucks and 35,000 trailers. Its customers included Walmart and Home Depot. Wells Fargo expects to book higher than anticipated severance expenses in the fourth quarter. That is according to its CEO Charlie Scharf. It is likely to be in the range of $750 million to a little less than $1 billion. This comes amid increasing layoffs in the company. Last month, Wells Fargo eliminated about 50 bankers from its corporate and investment bank. Unionized journalists at the Washington Post said they would stage a 24-hour strike on Thursday. They are protesting against staff cuts and what they call management's failure to bargain in good faith over their contract. The journalists say the contract talks have stretched on for 18 months. The planned one-day walkout would mark the first general work stoppage at the Post since 1975. Pharma company Eli Lilly has said it recently approved obesity drug Zepbound and is now available in US pharmacies. Zepbound's price range for consumers largely depends on health insurance coverage. Those without it could pay as much as $550 a month. However, those with the health insurance could pay as little as $25. Analysts expect sales of Zepbound to reach about $2 billion in 2024. Meanwhile, Novo Nordisk's obesity drug Wegovy is expected to make $7.3 billion next year. iPhone maker Foxconn is feeling bullish about its holiday season sales. The Taiwan-based giant has lifted its outlook for the fourth quarter. However, the firm did not put exact numbers on its predictions. Foxconn says the quarter has started better than expected. It now sees revenue beating earlier forecasts of significant growth. Meanwhile, Apple has warned India that its local production targets will be hit. That is, if New Delhi requires existing iPhones to have universal charging points. India reportedly wants to implement a rule similar to the European Union, which will require smartphones to have a universal USB-C charging port. India has been in talks with manufacturers about introducing requirement in the country by June 2025. Reports say Apple is lobbying for an exemption or delay to the rule. The European Union is trying to hammer out final details of its artificial intelligence regulations. This follows months of difficult negotiations, particularly over monitoring of the generative AI like ChatGPT. The EU is racing to approve the world's first comprehensive AI law. The issue took on greater urgency after ChatGPT became a sensation following its launch last year. Elon Musk's artificial intelligence startup xAI is set to raise $1 billion through an equity offering. That's according to a filing with US regulators. xAI was launched in July this year. Last month, it launched its own chatbot called Grok to rival ChatGPT and other artificial intelligence chatbots. Amazon streaming unit Twitch has said it will shut down operations in South Korea. The company will wind down its business in February next year. The move comes amid high operating costs and network fee. Twitch's CEO said that its South Korean unit has been operating at a significant loss. He added that the network fee in Korea are still 10 times more expensive than in other countries. Moving to sports, let's start with cricket. Pakistan's women's team secured a historic T20 series win against New Zealand. Pakistan batted first and secured 137 runs in their innings. They won the match by 10 runs after restricting New Zealand to 127. This is the first time that Pakistan's women's team has won a T20 series away from home in the last 5 years. This is also Pakistan women's team's first T20 series win against New Zealand. Former South Africa captain Faf du Plessis has hinted at making a comeback to international cricket. Du Plessis says he is open to returning for South Africa ahead of the T20 World Cup next year. He last played for the Proteas in December 2020. Since then, Du Plessis has been seen in action only in the Indian Premier League. England batter Harry Brook has deleted all social media apps from his mobile phone. The 24-year-old says he is doing this to shield himself from negativity. Brook says deleting social media from his mobile phone has really helped in improving his mental health. In football, Arsenal beat Luton Town 4-3 in Premier League thriller last night. Arsenal took a 2-1 lead in the first half, then Luton scored twice early in the second half to make the scores 3-2. Arsenal equalised in the 60th minute to tie the scores. It was Declan Rice who scored the winning goal for Arsenal 7 minutes into the second half injury time. Argentina and Inter Miami forward Lionel Messi has been named Athlete of the Year by Time magazine. This is the first time that the footballer has received the prestigious award. He joins the elite list of award winners including Simone Biles, Michael Phelps and LeBron James. Real Madrid midfielder Jude Bellingham won the Golden Boy Award on Tuesday. He has now become the first footballer from Real Madrid to win the prestigious award. Golden Boy is given to the best footballer under the age of 21. Bellingham now joins the elite list of awardees including Lionel Messi, Wayne Rooney, Kylian Mbappe and Erling Haaland. In tennis, Novak Djokovic finished his season ranked world number 1. He has not set a new record for ending his season at the top rank for the 8th time. Djokovic has also set a record for holding the world number 1 rank for the most number of weeks in his career. He has topped the ranks for 400 weeks, overtaking the previous record held by Roger Federer at 310 weeks. Formula One Authority has named 6 Grand Prix venues which will hold sprint races next season. The included racetracks are in China, Austria, Brazil and Qatar. Meanwhile, racetracks in the American cities of Miami and Austin have also been included. The first sprint of the 2024 season will be held in China in the month of April. In hockey, the Indian women's team beat New Zealand 3-2 in a nail-biter penalty shootout at the Junior World Cup match. The match went into full time with the scores tied at 3-all. It was Mumtaz Khan who scored the winning goal for India in the shootout. India will next play their match on Thursday against either South Korea or South Africa. The International Olympic Federation is considering allowing Russian and Belarusian athletes to play as neutrals at the Paris Olympics. A final decision will be taken in the executive board meeting in March next year. The Paris Olympics will take place from July 26th. In entertainment, the members of Hollywood Actors Union have accepted a new contract with the studios and streamers. Around 78% of the members voted in favor of the agreement, with a voter turnout of around 38%. The ratified contract will expire on 30th June 2026. The Hollywood Actors Union spent over 3 weeks voting on the deal. The cast and creators of Netflix's The Crown bid farewell to the acclaimed series in London. They gathered for the premiere of the part 2 of the 6th and the final season. Peter Morgan, the show's creator, expressed mixed emotions while highlighting the decade-long journey of the show. Actor Gillian Anderson, who played the role of Margaret Thatcher, said the show was everyone's favorite job. Actor Jonathan Majors' ex-girlfriend tearfully testified at his abuse trial, revealing her fear of the actor. The Creed actor is facing a trial for an alleged attack on Grace Jabari. During the hearing, Jabari detailed the instances of alleged violence during their relationship. According to the testimony, Majors reportedly berated her, making her feel scared when she spoke about her ex. Hollywood actor Tom Hanks brings his passion for space to a new immersive London show. The show is called The Moonwalkers, A Journey with Tom Hanks. Narrated by the two-time Oscar winner, the exhibit explores both past and future human voyages to the moon. The show features old footages and interviews with the Artemis 2 team set for lunar flyby in the coming year. The immersive show will open for public from today and will run until April 2024. Nicolas Cage is a seasoned actor with decades of experience, expressed his desire to transition from movies to television. In a recent interview, Cage revealed his intention to cut short his film career. He feels that he has communicated what he wanted through cinema. The actor envisions completing a few more movies before taking the plunge. Actor Zack Efron is slated to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He will receive the star on December 11. The ceremony will honor Efron's substantial contributions to the world of motion pictures through his two-decade-long career. Squid Game: The Challenge continues its success, claiming the top position on Netflix for the second consecutive week. It's a reality TV show inspired by South Korean series Squid Games. The reality competition garnered 11.4 million views for the last week of November. Other shows in top 10 include Obliterated, The Crown, Bad Surgeon, Love Under the Knife, and Young Sheldon Season 1. Rapper Ice Spice has signed the WME Talent Agency for representing her globally. The WME represents artists like Ben Affleck, Jessica Alba, Hugh Jackman, and Joaquin Phoenix. She was previously represented by the Creative Artists Agency. South Korean girl group Blackpink has renewed their contract with the label YG Entertainment. The agency officially announced it today. This comes after months of speculation that the band will not renew their contract with the same agency again. The military enlistment date of South Korean singers V, Jungkook and RM is almost here. Their agency, Big Hit Music, has provided clarity on their schedules and procedures. According to their statement, Jungkook and Team Min will enlist together, opting for a joint process in the same camp. While RM and V will undergo enlistment separately, there will be no official ceremony for their enlistments.